caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings, 'cause Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. Sing, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And Lord, I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence, and I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. And oh, I'm not here for blessings, 'cause Jesus, you don't owe me anything. It's more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. And I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. 'Cause I just want you. And nothing else. And nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. I'm caught up in your presence, and I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. And oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. We just want you. came to the world you created, trading your crown for a cross. You willingly died, your innocent life paid the cost. Counting your status as nothing, the King of all kings came to serve, and washing my feet and covering me with your love. If more of you means less of me, take everything. Yes, all of you is all I need. Take everything. You are my life and my treasure, the one that I can't live without. And here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down.
Oh, here at your feet, my desires and dreams I lay down.
Jesus, I pray, make me more like Jesus.
purity. In biblical symbolism, light represents holiness, goodness, knowledge, and God's presence. The imagery of light shining in darkness is significant, as darkness often symbolizes sin, ignorance, and evil. This phrase echoes the creation narrative in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, where God commands light to exist, signifying the beginning of order and life. The light shining in the darkness also reflects this prophetic words of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2, which foretells a great light coming to those living in deep darkness, pointing to the coming of the Messiah. The continuous tense shines indicates the ongoing and active presence of Christ's influence in a world marred by sin. So, my story begins long time ago, right? I want to say I was about 8 years old, and this is where we're going to start this story, because this is where God's light pierced through my darkness for the first time in my life. And I just want to say, I don't know why, but when we were worshiping there, I just felt led to just mention. So my wife, Destiny, here tonight, she was actually there. She was part of my life when I first experienced God. She actually lived 2 blocks from me down the road, and our brothers used to hang out. So we used to walk to school together, and we used to hang out. And she was actually my first friend and my last friend. Now we're married. So yeah. So she was there. But anyway, so I was around 8 years old at the time, and I was going through abuse. Nobody knew that. I didn't tell anybody that. That was kind of hidden from my parents and just stuff like that. But I was being abused by an older sibling, sexually, physically, all that kind of stuff. And anyway, I was praying about this, and I was kind of choosing, like, what am I going to get up here and tell them tonight? What am I going to leave out? And I was actually opening an old book that I had written in a while back earlier today, and it was talking about that I needed to, I don't know, I wish I knew, I wish I had it. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was talking about by being sincere with my struggles and just things that I've been through, that's how I can reach people tonight, by keeping it raw and real, right? So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, so around that time, that's what I was going through in my life. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever had experiences with, like, just demonic and just seeing things like that. But at that time, when I was 8 years old and I was going through that stuff, and nobody knew but me, and I just want to say that I started seeing things that nobody else was seeing. I started seeing spirits in my home multiple times, even one that sat by my bed all through the night. And it was probably the longest in my life, and I couldn't even swallow. My eyes were open. Anyway, this stuff is going on. I'm 8 years old, and I didn't understand what was happening to me with the abuse. I didn't understand the things that was happening to me, about what my eyes were open to, the things that I was seeing. And so, anyway, 8 years old, I'm standing outside of my home one day, and there was a couple who had lived next door, an elderly couple. And I remember he was, dressed in suit, had to been in like their 80s. And he was pushing his wife, who was in a wheelchair, up the ramp to their home. And I think a church van was dropping them off. That's what I remember. And anyway, I'm just standing out there on the sidewalk by myself, just looking around, in the street. And for whatever reason, I know what reason now. But I asked him, I said, excuse me, like, do you believe in God? I'd asked him, like, do you guys believe in God? Because I've seen that, how they dressed, and they were older. Anyway, I remember that older man, he said, yeah. He said, would you like to come into my home? And he invited me into their home. I remember I knelt down in between their coffee table and their couch, and he was praying over me, and he asked me to receive Jesus, if I would receive Jesus Christ into my heart. And I said, yes. Right? That is the first time in my life that the light pierced through the darkness. That was the first time in my life that God's peace just overwhelmed me. all that stuff that I was going through didn't seem to matter anymore because I was sealed that day, and I believe that to this day. So yeah. So anyway, so I get saved. I received Jesus into my heart, 8 years old. Years went on, things changed. I moved away. I think the following year I moved away. Hadn't seen Destiny anymore, and moving around. And anyway, as I got older, I became a really angry person. I became really angry about, what had happened to me, the things that I had been going through. I didn't really have a good relationship with my mom because I felt like, because of the stuff that I held inside that I didn't tell. So I didn't have like a really good relationship with anybody. I wasn't really on the same page. And anyway, as I got older, I, started doing crime, you know what I mean? Just for no reason, like cutting teachers' car tires and lighting fires and breaking into homes and just doing all kinds of stuff. And anyway, when I was about 12 years old, I have all these juvenile cases. I grew up in that juvenile center down the road before it got rebuilt. Anyway, but I got taken away by the state because nobody could handle me, and I was doing, adult criminal stuff. And so I went to group homes, and I went through group homes from the time I was 12 to 17 years old, in, out, right back in, 6, 8, 9 months at a time. Anyway, so I got out, and mind you, like in the times that I'm getting out, I'm getting into drugs and, crystal meth and drinking and just still doing that stuff. And anyway, I get out, and once I age out of juvenile, now I'm going in and out of jail, assaults and just all kinds of stuff. Again, I didn't care. I didn't think twice. You know what I mean? I was just that kind of person where it was like if I felt like you were bringing harm or trying to step on my toes in any kind of way, I would just start throwing hands on you because I felt like nobody's going to get me again. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to take advantage of me. Nobody's going to take advantage of my family. And so that's how I was, and I just lashed out on people. And anyway, Lord help me not trail off right now, okay? So that's where I was at. And then I'm going through all these things, in and out of jails, on drugs. And then, everybody knows about the Joplin tornado. That stuff happened. We lost everything. Around that time, I had found out that one of the women, young women that I was doing drugs with, she became pregnant with child. She moved to Colorado, all this stuff. And I wasn't in no place to be a father, obviously, I was pretty messed up. So anyway, I used to run around with a guy, pretty good friend of mine at the time, helped me through a lot, and but we were bad together. And anyway, we were going back and forth to Colorado anyway, trafficking drugs and doing stuff like that. And then at some point, we were out there, and he was like, "This is your new life." He says, "I'm leaving you here." Basically what he told me, because he knew I had a daughter. I went and seen her for the first time in Colorado. And he goes, "Go have this new life." He's like, "Don't ever come back to this." He's like, "You don't want this life anymore." And basically, he got arrested like right around that time, got extradited, got out, and then the police shot him to death, right? And that was my friend. We were together every day for like 5 years. But he was like, "Here you go, here's your new life." So anyway, so I started life in Colorado, and it wasn't good. I was still that same messed up person, still addicted, I had a lot of issues, man. So anyway, so that's what happened. I carried my crap, and I went to Colorado, and I was doing the same stuff, crime, stealing cars, and all that. Anyway, a couple years down the road, Lord help me here. a couple years down the road, it's like I started doing drugs again with my daughter's mom. She got back into that stuff because of me. And so her life is messed up. My life is messed up. We have a little girl together. And yeah. So all that stuff that I was doing finally caught up with me. And I was on my way to prison. And anyway, around that time that I was on the run, she was a heroin addict. We were doing oxys and just all kinds of different stuff together. And anyway, she gets caught up with DFS. They take my daughter, and she fled. And I was, it was just. Anyway, let's move on. So that was that, and I messed up everything again, threw everything away. And anyway, so I took off. I ended up being sentenced to community corrections for 2 years, and that was around the time that lost her. My kid's mom was on heroin, and just my life was crap. You know what I mean? And so one day I was just like, I'm out of here. And I left, and I caught an escape charge. And I spent all that time on the run, doing drugs and drinking to the point of death. I didn't care about anything anymore. And I'm not glorifying this, but I was the kind of person where it was like I was pouring 2/5 of Kentucky Deluxe down my throat every single day, on top of all the drugs that I was doing. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care to wake up the next day. And that's where I was at. And then one day, it was like I just turned myself in. It was like after a year. I had to turn myself in because I was like, I can't do this anymore. Just the life that I was living. So I turned myself in, and I went to prison. And I was fighting all the time, and I didn't care. I wasn't looking for God, mind you guys. I wasn't looking for God. My life was crap. You know what I mean? My best friend died. My daughter's gone. Everything's gone. I don't have a relationship with my family back home. So I'm in prison. I'm fighting all the time. And I wasn't thinking about God. I wasn't looking for him. A lot of people, they find the Lord in prison. They want something to comfort them. I wasn't looking for him, But I was in prison one night, and I was laying in my bunk. And some people have dreams. Sometimes you dream things, and you kind of wake up, and you're like, oh, something about this, something about that. I don't really remember. It's kind of hazy. But God gave me a vision one night when I was laying in my prison bunk. And I call it a vision because it lasted, it seemed like, for hours. And I remember every single detail of it like I lived it out. And, but it goes like this. I want to say, first of all, that at the time in my life, I did believe in God. I did believe in God. But I thought that I was so messed up that he wouldn't want nothing to do with me, somebody like me anyway. I thought that stuff that happened to me when I was a kid, that lifestyle I lived, I lost everything that I did because I'm an evil person. And I deserve nothing. I deserve to be in prison, and that's just who I am, right? So anyway, I wasn't looking for him. But one night, I was laying in my bunk, and it was like God took me through life. He took me through these different areas of my life from the time that I was a kid, from the time that, even the people that were in there in prison with me who were trying to, put me up against other people to fight and all this stuff. And it was like I could see them. It was like I was looking at them in the flesh, but then I could see their spirit, and I could see how the demonic forces throughout my life were working against me to play me into my own death, And anyway, so these spirits are after me through these people, and God was showing me them, and then I couldn't see them. And so, but I'm in great fear because I can see these demonic spirits working against me through these people. And so I'm running and I'm trying to get away from them. But I remember I couldn't see them clearly. I couldn't see what was even attacking me because I had like raw flesh over my eyes that wouldn't allow me to see them, if that makes sense. So anyway, so I'm running from them. I'm running from these demonic forces that are working through these people. And I'm tearing at my eyes. I'm trying to scratch off this raw flesh so I can see clearly. There's something to that. Anyway, so I'm running from them, and then I'm running from them in pitch blackness. I'm running in pitch blackness. And like the darkest dark that you can imagine. And the only light that is in all this darkness is probably from me, maybe a little bit further than that door back there. And I only know that there's a door in this darkness because I can see a light so bright on the other side of it. You see the crack around the door of light and then the crack across the floor because the door is about that far from being shut, right? That door is closing. And I know that if I don't get to that door in time, I'm trapped in that darkness forever, right? And you want to talk about fear? I've been through a lot in my life. I've been shot at. I've been in car wrecks. I've been through EF5 tornadoes. You know what I mean? Whatever. I've never felt fear like I did in that moment because I knew that when that door was shut, I was shut in that darkness forever. And there was no escaping it. And as I'm running for that door, I'm crying and I'm panicked and I'm trying to get to it. And I fall in the darkness. And I'm crawling, trying to get to that door, like, wait. And I remember I found another light in that darkness. I fell and I'm crawling. I can't see. I come upon the most illuminated feet from here down, from right below the knee down. And I knew in my heart, with all my heart, that they were Jesus, that those feet belonged to Jesus Christ. And I knew it in that moment. Somebody who I didn't even believe in at the time. Oh, I know he's real. You know, he was a light in the darkness. And anyway, I fall at his feet, and I grab him, and I wake up. And so that was another time the light pierced through the darkness. God just awakened me in that moment and said, look, I am he, and you need to find me in your darkness. And so anyway, I remember hopping out of my prison bunk and hitting the floor, and it's pitch black in my cell, and I run over, and I'm writing all this down, grab my little rubber pen, and I'm sitting there just writing all this down because I didn't want to forget everything that God had shown me at that moment because it was a message. It wasn't a dream. It was a message. And anyway, so, wow, yeah. I knew in my heart since that day that Jesus Christ was who he said he was and that he was God and that I needed to find him because that door is almost shut. And I would like to say that I got out of prison and I cleaned up and I became a changed man and followed the Lord, but that's not the case, is it? So, but I had a new perspective because I knew that God was trying to get my attention. So I get out of prison, and I went right back, what do they call that, to the vomit, to the pig pen. I went right back to it. And that was my life for a while. And I could sit up here and I could tell you stories all night about how I escaped death from the skin of my teeth because a person like me, because of the stuff that I carried, I was a person set out for self-destruction, you know. I would drink a pint on the highway, then hop in a car and go 95. You know, I didn't care. And anyway, just so many different things. Actually, I want to tell you one story. I just want to give you an example of times that God had his hand divinely on me. Since that day I first said yes to him when I was a child, he's had his hand on me. But even one time I was drinking and driving on the highway, I did this all the time. I remember I was like, oh, it's this exit. Oh, it's not this exit kind of deal. And I was going 95 because I had just smashed 8 shots before I got behind the wheel. I remember I swerved back onto the highway and lost control of this car. You know, 5-lane highway in Colorado, rush hour, cars everywhere. And I remember I spun this car around, it seemed like an eighth of a mile, quarter mile, whatever it was, probably an eighth of a mile, down the road across 5 lanes. And I end up facing traffic against the barrier on the other side. And I remember you couldn't even see no cars. The whole highway was just covered in smoke. It looked like fog from my tires just burning across it. And I remember that my car didn't hit the barrier and nothing broke. I smoked brand new tires down to the wires. And but there's one thing that broke in that car. I had a rosary, I had a cross around my rearview mirror. And I remember it was weird because I know I was doing all this and a lot was going on. But out of the corner of my eye, I seen that rosary expand and just blow up. Boom. Shot beads just all over the car. And I knew as I was driving off, like, okay, God, like I know that was you. Like that was another sign. Anyway, there's just so many. I could sit up here and testify all night about just God's hand just being over me and his faithfulness. But so anyway, where was I? Lord, help me focus. Right. So I come back. Eventually I moved from Colorado and I came to Missouri. And again, I was not a good person at the time. I carried a gun and I was on drugs and I was drinking and still very violent and all this stuff. And I met somebody from my past as soon as I came back. That was Destiny. Destiny shows up. Destiny shows up in my life. She's like, remember me? I was like, of course I do. How could I forget? You were my only friend. Before everything went bad, she was my first friend. She was there for me. All right, my Destiny. But anyway, so I meet her, and God just bless her. Bless her heart, because, man, all the stuff that she put up with, I ain't even going to say it up here tonight. But yeah, I put her through it, and she held on to me for some reason. She clung to me, and she didn't care how messed up I was. She was there through it all. She was praying for me, and she was pleading at Jesus' feet for me. And anyway, a bunch of stuff happened already within 1 year of knowing each other. I think, her car windows got beat out with a lead pipe. She got bullet holes in her car when I was out driving it. Just all kinds of stuff. I was not a good person for her at all. And I didn't understand why she stayed. But anyway, so we moved to Texas to get away from it. But I was still drinking a lot. I quit doing the drugs. I put everything else to the side, but I kept drinking. I just couldn't understand. I just didn't want anything to do with anything. I wanted to get back on my path of self-destruction. I couldn't see why this person wouldn't leave me, And so anyway, so she was praying for me, trying to get me to go to church. And one day, we're at church. It was the craziest thing. I remember we're in the back of the church, and I know, man, I didn't want to go up there. I didn't want to go up to the altar. I know I reeked of alcohol, I didn't want nobody to smell me, man. And I remember there was a pastor that day. He's pretty well known, but I remember he called me up to the front from the back. I was like, whoa. I ain't going up there, Anyway, yeah, so he calls me up there from the back, and I know that it was God speaking through him. I don't remember what he said, but I think it was something like, God's got his hand on you. God's got his hand on your life, and he has something more for your life. And he was like, in 3 to 6 months, you're going to be standing in places you never thought you'd be standing. He said, you're going to bring your family to come to know the Lord. even the ones who have hardened their hearts towards you, and just begin to speak all these things over my life. And I couldn't see that, you know. So anyway, so I leave there, and sure enough, my wife had been praying and fasting for me to get help, and she wanted me to go into the Forge program. And I remember, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing an 18th month program. I didn't have no intention on being sober. I had no intentions of going back to Missouri. I'm out on all of that. Sorry. I said, I can't just leave Texas. I got felony cases for evading the police in a vehicle, DUIs. So I got a job. I got car payments. I can't just leave the state. Anyway, again, she had been praying for me hard, and I know she was. And she said, will you please, just go talk to her. You don't have to go. You don't have to pack your bags and go commit to nothing. Just go talk to her. The faith of my wife, right? So I go and I talk to Jamie Myers, and it just all fell in that place. I just knew that that's what I was supposed to do. And I was like, okay, well, can I do this? What is this going to look like? How's this going to go? I got court, all this stuff. And it just fell into place. And I ended up there, and I still had my cases in Texas. And I had no idea how this was going to work. This was blind faith. And I know that it was definitely God was all over it, because there's no way that I would have bent my will to do that. God did it for me, you know? So anyway, so I go into this place, and I'm going to tell you the truth. So I'm sitting in there, and I'm like, man, I'm here. I was sitting up at night. Everybody else is sleeping. I'm like, man, I'm here, you know? And I remember I went 2 weeks without talking to anybody. I think I talked to one person. I talked to Dave. Dave was the only person I talked to for like 2 weeks. And anyway, I just remember going in there, and I had a lot of pride, and I thought that I was better than everybody around me. I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with them, and I'm sitting here in my mind just chewing this over like, okay, I've made it through jail, I've made it through prison. How am I going to make it through this? How can I fake this for 18 months, right? How can I play this and still hang on to all my junk, you know? And it was like a couple nights later, and I was laying awake at like 3 a.m. I'm like, I can't play this. I can't do this. I can't fake this for 18 months. And so I'm sitting and just sitting up awake, and I'm sitting there and something told me, man, I got up from my bed, and there was this old coat closet at the Forge program, and there was a little concrete floor in there, and maybe an air duct, and just little crappy closet, you know. And anyway, so I'm sitting in there, and sorry, I'm just trying to give you some like a visual. Anyway, so I'm sitting in there, and I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm sitting there, you know, all these things are racing through my mind. I'm like, okay, if I leave, if I walk out that door, they're gonna come and get me. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. I said, am I gonna walk away? How am I gonna fake this? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I was just sitting there, just staring off. And I was probably in there for like an hour, just staring into the darkness, just sitting there. And then my mind started changing a little bit, my thought process. And then I was like, well, God, what if? What if you could change me? Like, can you really change me? Can you really do something with this mess? Can you really take away my mental torment? You know what I mean? My anger, my resentments, all that crap that I've been carrying around since I was a kid. All the stuff I hate about myself, just everything, all that junk that I carried. I was like, God, can you really take this from me? Can you really change me? And then, before I knew it, I was on my knees. And I just remember I was on my face, and I was crying, and I was just pouring it all out before God. I was like, God, please, like, can you really change me? And what about my family, God? What about them? Are they going to go to hell? Can you change them too? You know? And I don't know how long I was in there, but I just know that I got real for the first time in a long time with Jesus, and I cried out to him. And I woke up that next morning, and I wasn't a big person on praying, but God gave me a prayer that morning, first thing when I woke up, and I just started praying in the morning, and what came out of my mouth even shocked me. And I said, God, give me the heart of a servant. Help me to serve these men around me, because this is the only way I knew that I was going to make it through, is by serving them, right? Or he knew, I didn't know. He knew. But anyway, again, you know, from somebody who was really prideful, thinking, you know, he's better than everybody, I didn't want nothing to do with them dudes. God put it on my heart. I said, God, help me to serve them. And anyway, he changed my heart posture, and he began to walk with me that day. That very next morning when I woke up, something began to change. God started beginning to do something. And anyway, so I walked through that, and God's been with me the whole time. I done graduated that program. I went to Texas. I was going back and forth. I was just shown just immeasurable favor in the court. You know, like my attorney was sitting there just jaw on the floor. Didn't understand, he couldn't comprehend what happened. You know, they're waiving $4,000 fines. They're reinstating my license. They're saying time served. You know what I mean? On a felony evading a charge from the police in a vehicle and a DUI and then another DUI. They're reinstating my license that day. You know. And so anyway, so I was just, man, I was like, wow. I was just seeing God just turning it all for the good, beginning to turn everything for the good. And let's see, where am I, Lord? Yeah, so all that is done and gone. I'm sober. I'm no longer an alcoholic. I'm no longer angry. And I'm at peace. And those, I told you about when I was younger and I felt really, shut up inside, and I didn't have a genuine relationship with anyone in my family. God's restoring all of that now. He's restoring my relationship with my mom. Me and my mom pray together. Sometimes he has me minister to my mom. He's helping me, bring my brother closer to God. We're working on my father. It's, yeah. And something that used to seem impossible to me, you know what I mean? My dad's a pretty hardened person. And we used to drink and do drugs and all kinds of stuff together. And that is just so out of the question that I would ever be the one to bring him to know the Lord. But God promised me that I would. And I know what God can do now in my life, and I'm believing him for that. And so, yeah, Lord, what else should I say? I've just been immensely blessed, and he's continuing to work on me and in me and through me. And let's say I'm sitting in places I never thought I would be sitting, just like that pastor said. That day I was reeking of alcohol, and here I am, sitting in places that I couldn't even imagine, So yeah, God's just been good, and I just want to say tonight that this wasn't about me, this wasn't about my story, this was about the faithfulness of God. When I was that little boy, not understanding anything, and going to that couple, and they asked me to receive Jesus, I felt him come into my heart, and he said, "You are mine." And I know that I understand now that he took me through every messed up thing that I had to go through to be who I am today and to reach other people. And I just praise God for every struggle I've ever been to, because I know that he's using every single bit of it, and it was all not for nothing. So, yeah. So praise God. All right.